Show me your moves.
And welcome, lovers and loners, to another episode of Geek Life, your source for all the nerdy news you need to know. I am your host, the Dodd, the streamer this podcast needs, but not the one it deserves. If you're new to the show, we're about a 2.5 hour mashup of all the pop culture news you know and love. We talk about all your favorite TV, movies, video game news, and evidently washed up celebrities who lost the opportunity of a lifetime because they were too busy licking the Empire's boots. But more on that later. Joining me today, a man whose headband says Supreme and his beard screams, "Behold Excalibur!" Jake the Great, aka Gonzo Gone Live. How are you doing today, Jake?
Doing well. You know, it's Valentine's Day. You know, I'm here with you guys. No place I'd rather be, except I guess maybe if Jessica's in. If she's tuning in, then definitely with her. So
for sure.
Doing good.
And back from Mordor, or some may call it California, it is Kev, aka Totally Awesome. How are you doing today, Kev?
I'm doing great, man. You know, crawled out of the desert alive, saw some ancient petroglyphs, you know, now I'm back in gray, wet mud hole of DC. So
yeah,
it's great. There you have it, man. There you have it.
Straight slush.
Straight slush season.
How have you guys been surviving the apocalypse? The apocalyptic hell has now officially frozen over in at least my neck of the woods.
So I'm convinced we didn't survive, and this is just the end game. You know?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
We're now in end game. Yeah,
we're in the end game, boys.
Right.
But no, I mean,
go ahead, Jake.
Oh no, I was gonna say, speaking of in-game, WandaVision is heating up.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, that's one way that, you know, I'm definitely looking forward to each Friday right now with that one. So,
what if that's what we're in right now? We're in the not to give away spoilers, but we're in the hex right now. What if that's what's going on here?
Do. Or if you watched Free Game Friday, The Hiss.
Yeah, I gotta get more into control. I was watching, but I had to stop because like spoilers for me. But
yeah. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. And it's been cool to see some more streams on Geek Life. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, we've been doing our new launch of what we call Geek Life TV, where we have different streamers and people part of our community coming up and kind of showcasing their stuff. Definitely check out Super Sus Saturday. We did a stream yesterday with the fattest Sacks. And I did a Free Game Friday stream this Friday where we played a little bit of Control, the PlayStation Plus free game of the week. Definitely something to check out. And actually, let's just go ahead and get right into it. But before we do, of course, a quick reminder to everybody that if you like what you see or hear on the show tonight, feel free to follow us at Geek Life Live or on any of our social medias. You can also follow any of us on our. Speaking of social medias, we just recently launched a reaction video to the new Snyder Cut trailer, which we'll be talking about tonight
on the YouTubes.
So snaps, definitely could use some subscribers there. So head on over, check that out. Leave us a subscribe. We could definitely use the help. But if you want even more content, even more than that, then you can follow any of us on any of our personal socials. You can find me at Roos Bane on Twitter and Twitch. Jake, where can they find you?
You can find me at Gonzo Gone Live on both the Twitch and the Twitterverses.
And what about you, Kev?
You can find me at Totally Awesome.
All right. We have a fantastic show planned for you guys today. Yes. Jake, hit us with that rundown.
Well, Dodd, you had me at rundown. It's time for the rundown. This week we've got jam-packed headline section with Godzilla winning. The Pog Emote battle, that is. Snyder showed fans some love this Valentine's Day. And Sessler Soapbox gives this rundown a 5 out of 5. And this week's top headline, Cara Dune is Cara Done. Yeah. That's a good one, right? Zingder.
That's fantastic. That's
Then we got a new segment that we're calling Jake's Takes, another straight white male's opinion, and they're so hot right now. And as always, we'll dive deep into this week's deep dive on bad romance and our top Zen, the top 10 super power couples of all time. But it looks like the water's warm, so let's jump right into the deep end. Kev, give the people what they want. Hit them with this week's top headlines.
Thanks, Jake. First up this week, the Pog Emote has been decided. Twitch users have voted, and the new permanent face of the PogChamp emote is officially a lizard. In a live stream today earlier this week, Twitch let users pick between two options of the new permanent PogChamp emoji streamer Umi no Kaiju and Komodo Hype. After 15 minutes of voting, users selected Komodo Hype, an existing emoji of Komodo Dragon making a shocked expression. Komodo Hype will now appear both when users enter the Komodo Hype command and the PogChamp command into the chat. Second, scalpers ruin McDonald's Scalpers ruin McDonald's Pokemon promos. Surprise, surprise. Pokemon card scalpers swarmed the 25th anniversary McDonald's event, buying out cards meant for children's Happy Meal. Jesus Christ, guys. The 25th anniversary of the Pokemon series is just getting started, with fans awaiting news of upcoming game announcements and other special promotional events that may be occurring through the year. To help celebrate this exciting milestone, the Pokemon website announced on Tuesday that each McDonald's Kid Happy Meal will contain a special pack of anniversary promotional trading cards. Unfortunately for excited kids, scalpers may be the reason they won't be seeing an anticipated pack of these cards in their lunch this year, as resellers have flocked to stores and began hoarding and selling most of the supplies. You guys are great. Our third headline for today's Snyder Cut official trailer dropped today. Woohoo! Also, check out our React video. It's on YouTube. Check it out. Yeah. The official trailer for Zack Snyder, am I right? Zack Snyder's Justice League has been
released. That's a wasted marketing opportunity right there. Don't need to trail too far off. But Snyder Snacks, that's
Snyder Snacks, right. Snyder has been teasing the new trailer all week and even revealed footage of both Black Suit Superman and Darkseid Plus. Today we got way more than teasers. Can you say Dark Knight Returns tank? Love the Dark Knight tank, all of the tanks. Tanks a lot. Yes. We also got to look at the much anticipated Leto Snyder Cut Joker. No gold teeth and face tats this time. That's a hard pass for me. Just kidding.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah. Which is also Kingdom Hearts is coming to PC.
Hell yeah.
For all of you who PC Master Racers, not racists, sorry. That could be easily slipped. Square Enix is bringing the Kingdom Hearts series to PC for the first time as an Epic Games Store exclusive. Epic announced that Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory are coming to Epic Games Store March 30. Wow. The first two titles on that list are compilations of multiple Kingdom Hearts games. Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix will be $49.99 on launch.
Nice.
Next, Ubisoft changes directions on The Division 2. The Division 2's title update 12 was meant to be the last title update for the game, but Ubisoft has changed its mind and has confirmed that more content is on the way later this year. Ubisoft massive posted a message from the Division 2 team on Reddit saying that this new content is due to your continuous passion and support. Ubisoft really does a great job keeping its games alive, despite all the other nonsense that's been going on over there. Adam Sessler and Kevin Pereira are back at G4 also. G4 returns later this year. It will be in more than just the name. Original X-Play host Adam Sessler and Attack of the Shows Kevin Pereira are both coming along for the ride, and their shows will be back too. They're joining a group of new hosts that includes WWE superstar Xavier Woods, and you can expect to see many classic G4 segments when the shows are revived. In a press release, Adam Sessler specifically mentioned his Sessler Soapbox segment making a return, as well as opinions on the latest gaming news, and of course, reviews. Have you guys got a chance to check out the Snyder Cut trailer yet? Dodd, we already know the answer to that.
Yeah, of course. I've got my response recorded.
Yeah.
Jake, what were your thoughts on the Snyder Cut trailer?
Yeah, no, super excited to watch this 4-hour long movie. I'm definitely gonna have to like take all the dogs out, get a snack, use the bathroom, and then just like buckle up for that adventure. But definitely like the Joker. Not to be the big spoiler guy, but definitely check out Dodd's reaction and check it out the trailer itself if you haven't got a chance, because seeing what Snyder had planned for the than what we got out of the Joker. So I'm excited. So. I'm excited to see what comes next in that one.
Even from just 1 20-second shot of it, right? But it does seem really interesting. I think the one thing that I'm particularly interested with this week's stories was the Pokemon promos at McDonald's, because that was supposed to be a really big deal. And that did go out. I actually got some. Let me see if I have some in here. I think I do actually. Hold on.
Yeah, just same story. Scalpers they know no limits, right? Like, we're gonna ruin the experience of everyone, including kids. We don't discriminate.
Oh yeah, no. Right. I think it was what the famous Michael Jordan quote: "Fuck them kids."
Yeah. So let's see here. We got holographic Chespin. We got Froakie. Yeah, nothing really that great. But anyways, it was a promo. Whatever. But unlike me, some other famous streamers and YouTubers, particularly one of our least favorite A-Drives, took to McDonald's to get like a whole fucking boatload of these, and basically took all the opportunities away from children in his area. And in like, if it was just this one kind of thing, it would be okay. But everyone's kind of been on a downward trend with these YouTubers lately. Logan Paul's another one of them, the big ones that's really been kind of ruining TCG. And I think that this was really a straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of fans of a lot of these different YouTubers. It was, I mean, I was seeing, apology tweets later on in the week after stuff like this happened, and then people were just going crazy in the comments. If you want to get a temperature on this issue, check out some of those comments. That's what I would advise. But what are you guys' thoughts? Do you think that that there should be some kind of like ethical limit that limits, streamers like this from just, using their money to kind of just take everything from it?
I think what's happening is what needs to happen to make sure that it doesn't happen, which is like public shaming, right? Yeah, like I don't think like putting like a limit on it or anything like that's going to do anything. I think like people just need to be like, I'm not going to support it. And if enough people, and I know like it's such a like kind of a hard concept to think of sometimes because it's the same for a lot of things, but like if enough people just quit watching them, they wouldn't have any clout. Like it's the same with like anybody who's pissed at influencers, quit following them. Right. Quit following all the influencers you follow. Without enough followers, they're not influencers anymore.
No, they're only going to do what they think is going to give them clout and exposure, which is this.
Exactly. Yeah. And they knew if they flocked to McDonald's, got all these cards, and then did like giveaways on their channels and shit, people would tune into it. Like it was just they were chasing clout. And so it's good that like people are kind of like saying like, hey, there's limits, and the limit is literally stealing toys from children's Happy Meals.
That's got to be where you draw the line, right?
Yeah. I mean, dude, I was one of the first people in line to get like a special, Pokemon card from like one of the movie releases or something like that, right? Like, when I was a kid, and so I couldn't imagine if like when the Pokemon movie came out to theaters, if some YouTuber would have went and like snatched up all the cards, because there wasn't YouTube when I went and saw that movie. And so it's like, I couldn't imagine what would happen if somebody would have went and snatched all those up. I still have my little Mew from the movie.
I think I saw that movie like 4 times, and that's so I could get all the cards. My mom was nice enough to do that.
I used to have one of the McDonald's gold-plated cards that they had that came in like a little Pokeball or whatever.
Dude, those were big deal though. Those were real big deal. And like that's the thing, is like that's what I thought about it too. Like at first it was like, okay, all right, someone flashing around their money, like what makes them any different than just the latest fucking Elon Musk aficionado out there. But the thing that took it away from me was like, man, what if YouTube was a big thing back in the day when those promos were going on, when like the little gold cards were, and like they that childhood memory just robbed from you completely. That's when I started getting mad about it. That's when I started being like, dude, like these kids deserve that. This is the 25th anniversary of Pokemon, and for some kid, this is going to be like, I remember it was the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. I'd never heard of it before. I found a pack of cards and my McDonald's Happy Meal, and I just fell in love with the series. And like, I want that story to happen.
Yeah. No, they don't have it. Now they have, I went to McDonald's, got a Happy Meal. They told me there was no toys left for me. So I went home and watched an A-Drive video where the dude said he'd give them away. He opened my pack and then was like, and please be sure to like and subscribe, or whatever the fuck they do.
To make things even worse, particularly for A-Drive situation, he got really salty, started fighting back with fans who were mad at him. And then he made COVID jokes. Losing. Right. Yeah, and he started making COVID jokes. That's when it really just crossed the line of everything else out there. And then I was like, okay, now you bring COVID into the situation. Like you're getting in cancelable territory. And I honestly hope he gets canceled. But, YouTubers like this have a life system that only rivals Mario. Because like they can just get right the fuck back up. PewDiePie is still a thing, no matter all the crappy shit that is done. Yeah. Logan Paul is still making hand over fist, even all the shitty things that he's done. So, I don't see this going away anytime soon, but I hope it does.
Yeah, me too. It's gross.
Yeah, for real.
Well, Jake, I know
good news.
There was tons of good news. Jake, I know that you're super stoked about Kingdom Hearts coming to PC. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, dude, I haven't got to play the Kingdom Hearts franchise in a long time. Especially since jumping to the actual like PC Master race. Damn, Kevin. But no, like ever since becoming a big PC player, I miss out on a lot of those story-driven content ones, and so the newest Kingdom Hearts, I never even played through it. Big fan of the old series, so I'm excited to replay them on PC, especially considering that it's like compilations of like all the games together, and there's like fucking 8 Kingdom Hearts games that like and people always just remember like Kingdom Hearts, like the like PlayStation 2 game, and they're just like, yeah, I love Kingdom Hearts, and it's like, well, have you played Kingdom Hearts 6? And they're just and I'm like, what the fuck, like there's a 6. And so it's gonna be great to kind of play them all together and like really try to make sense of what is a pretty nonsensical kind of like universe in a way where it's Disney and Final Fantasy essentially. And so but they're still fun games to play, and so I'm looking forward to them coming to PC. It's going to be a lot of fun and not a bad price point for all the games that you're getting.
Right. So, right. And then I know Sessler and Pereira coming back is a huge deal. Kevin, you're pretty excited about that. Tell us a little bit about that.
I am excited. It's just it's nostalgia. Just being able to bask in that again. Like I was excited for G4 coming back, right? But you're always like, is it going to be the same G4? And of course, you don't want it to be exact the same, but you still want some pieces of it. And I think these two were kind of like cornerstone foundational pieces. And then of course you're missing people like Olivia Munn and Morgan Webb and stuff. But I think these two, I think it's going to be great. I think adding them and being able to have them come back and do their shows again, I think it's going to be a good sort of step in the right direction for whatever G4 is going to go.
I really didn't realize how much I miss Adam Sessler until I started working on the images for the show.
Yeah.
And I saw him there and I was like, man, you were just a big foundational part of my childhood and my humor and like everything. Yeah. And so I'm hyped to see it back.
Adam had the jokes.
Adam had the jokes.
Adam had the jokes and like just the his perspective on things.
X-Play was phenomenal. I loved X-Play.
X-Play, chef's kiss. Right? Hands down. And the last thing I'll say about these headlines is the one thing that we are missing in this apocalypse right now is someone to write a folk song on how an insurrection at the Capitol led to a lizard being the Pog Emote. I just need that like country ballad, one day
the ballad of the Pog emoji,
right? That's just a wild fucking ride, and poggers to see it end, and to something that I feel is going to be pretty timeless. Like I don't think that at any point in time that Komodo dragon is going to come out with some bad tweets about some political figures that is going on right now. I don't think that at any point in time, I don't think that Komodo dragon will be endorsing insurrection. So I think that that's a pretty safe bet for him.
Kimono dragons' teeth are literally filled with millions of bacteria, Dotson, and they kill precious animals. Cancel kimonos.
Cancel
today.
kimonos. All right, shit. Well, maybe nothing is uncancelable. But speaking of cancel culture, we need to move to our top story. Damn, Gina. That's obviously not all the news that happened this week. And our top story of the week: actress Gina Carano, known for playing the Rebel Alliance soldier Cara Dune on Disney's The Mandalorian, has been fired from the show. A Lucasfilm representative spoke on the matter, saying Gina Carano, am I saying that right? Is not
she wouldn't
currently
try to pronounce her name right.
I'm better than her though. I'm better than her. Okay, she would mispronounce my. Actually, my name is very German. She probably would pronounce it very accurately.
Like she would nail it.
Like she would be like, I have never pronounced it that well.
I don't know, considering how she sees herself.
That's true. That's true. Gina Carano is not currently employed by a Lucasfilm representative spoke on the matter, saying Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilms, and there are no plans to have her in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. That's how you be clear with your messaging. Okay,
that's with a mouse, you lose your house.
Right?
Yeah,
okay, that's not mincing words. That's not trying to say that's abhorrent and unacceptable. I appreciate that.
You know you fucked up.
Yeah, I know.
You know
you
Googled
that one.
Exactly. Carano was the subject of much criticism recently when, in a now deleted Instagram post, she compared being a modern day Republican to being Jewish during the Holocaust, which I'm gonna say, guys, I think it's a bit of a stretch.
A little bit of a reach.
Just a bit of a reach.
Yeah.
The hashtag Fire Gina Carano has been trending on social media in recent months after other incendiary comments by the television and film star. And those other incendiary comments include shit like that is anti-masker bullshit.
Yeah.
The election was a fraud bullshit. Oh, and just sprinkle a little bit of transphobia out there for the Chick-fil-A fans. Carano's post reads, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to that point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them for simply being Jews. All of that part, guys, honestly, all of that up until that part is not bad. Okay.
Yeah.
When you get this last sentence is where everything fucks up right here.
She had us in the first half, Dad.
Right?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Like
everybody's like, yeah, no, I get that, Gina.
You're reading this tweet and you're like, oh my gosh, like is Gina finally turned a new page? Did she have like a meeting with Disney and they just like, we're gonna teach you the right way. We got in trouble with this anti-Semitism shit once. We don't want to do it again.
Did she go to the Holocaust Museum?
Did she go to the Holocaust Museum
with a new perspective?
With a new perspective. But no, she finishes that up with, how is that any different from hating someone for their political views?
Yeah. Just straight went down with it.
Wow.
I'm a Republican, so I'm just like somebody who basically a group of people who were Holocausted, and so that's basically what that's exactly what she's saying, and so
at no point in time did Jewish people during the Holocaust have a president that was in their favor, cheering them on, and helping them. But
it's the same as the war on Christmas, and how that in a country that literally on its currency and allows crosses and Bible verses on cars, on cop cars, right? We'll have literally a King James Bible verse on a sheriff's vehicle, which is a state government employee, right? But yet there's a war on Christianity in the country. You know what I mean?
But apparently it's supposed to be also freedom of religion and state too. That was also
separation.
Separation of religion and state. But that's just that's the America that they believe that. I don't know. These people fucking confuse me.
Dude, everybody wants to be oppressed. That's what they just want to be oppressed so bad.
When you're the victim, you can't be the villain.
Exactly.
When you're the bad, everyone thinks they're the good guys, even when they're wrong. That's
what we talked about the last time we had Carano when we were discussing her, right? And Jake, you were making the point of like, that's the thing though. They see themselves as the hero. They see themselves as the soldier for the rebel.
What she said, she believes. There's a reason why she immediately went with Ben Shapiro to go make a fucking movie rather than launch like an apology or even try to learn about like anything throughout history, because she thinks history's edited. We don't know the real story. She does. You know, what she has found is the real truth, and the rest of us are just fucking sheep wearing masks. Is that? And that's what she thinks.
How to look up a couple YouTube videos.
Right.
I know.
And that's the weird part. Is like, how can you say that when your base that has your same beliefs literally incited a riot and insurrection, and yet you guys are the Jews?
Kevin, that was Antifa.
Store? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Antifa was the same ones that actually sunk their boats in the boat parade too. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a boat parade here in Austin, and the Antifa had some yellow submarines that they sunk down below and shot them with some soup cans, and they just just like, there's a lot of organization that goes on here.
But with this lady, like my favorite thing overall is it all kind of goes back, and in my mind, it always goes back to that gay birthday cake or that gay marriage cake in Colorado when they were just like, businesses have a right to do what they want to do. And then it's like, okay, well, Disney basically has said, yeah, look, you have freedom of speech. You can go spew whatever bullshit you want on your social media, but that doesn't mean you get to have a job at Disney and spew whatever bullshit you want on social media.
And that's what these people don't understand is like freedom of speech means the government can't silence you. It doesn't say anything about private organizations or anything else.
As a matter of fact, we have very almost no laws against corporations.
It also doesn't protect you if you're factually wrong.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
You can't just say whatever the fuck you want, claim it as truth, and be like, well, freedom of speech. No, it doesn't work like that. This is supposed to be the Constitution, which you swear is law of the land, but yet you just pick and choose what you want to be and work in your favor. That's
exactly.
It definitely. Definitely. Sorry, guys. We're getting snowed in here in Texas, which rarely happens, but you can hear the snow hitting my window.
Anybody have that on their apocalyptic bingo? Like, we're getting snowed in Austin.
We're getting snowed in here in Austin, Texas. If you didn't have that on your apocalyptic bingo, add it now. But I think the big important point here that we need to talk about is that freedom of speech is not freedom from reaction. Period.
No, exactly.
You can have the right to say whatever you want. You've always had the right to yell bomb on a plane. Is it a good idea to do so? No, because you'll probably get fucking arrested.
Bad idea.
As you should.
As you should, because you're scaring the shit out of people who are in a very vulnerable situation at a very vulnerable point. And what we communicate and what we say has effects. That's the biggest thing. What we say matters. A tweet matters. Like words all these things, words matter. I know it's like we have to go back to first grade here, but that's exactly what Karina got fired for.
Right.
And
our whole existence is like the story we tell ourselves and the things that gives us existential drive, or the things we leave behind is all words.
Right. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all we are. We're just words.
But these people they want to be victims very badly, and they also they don't understand the Constitution that they love so much. And so, which is crazy.
Or the Bible, for that matter, too.
And the double think is insane. Like, you are not just you're the silent majority, but you're also a minority, though you're also the news channel in the fucking world, like US, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's just like, they don't have, they're lost.
I hate the media.
They're lost, dude.
Fox News is the number one media outlet in the country.
My favorite thing
Fox
is
News is not
millionaire Tucker Carlson being like, millionaires and billionaires, they're going to tell you one thing. And like, and it's just like, they don't want you. And it's like, bro, Tucker, you're the dude. You're the millionaire. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But like, it's just the double think, and like everything from this group is it's mounting, especially with QAnon and all this shit. Like, the hit the fan, and it's just I think we're just still in the beginning of the fallout from what was essentially 4 years of Donald Trump. You're going to see a little bit like this happen over the next coming years. It's going to be a while before we can purge this shit from society. I doubt I'll ever even see that day,
Man,
unfortunately.
I hope you're wrong, but with how things have been, I think you're right.
I mean, the example is Marjorie Taylor fuckface, or sorry, Green.
Yeah.
You know, that's anyways, that's
Well, I mean, dude, there's a reason why it's snowing in Texas.
yeah.
Dotson called me earlier, said it was hot. I used my Jewish space laser to fuck up
There you go.
It was. That's what it was. I'm really glad. It's been really a lot more convenient now that I've had access to that via you. Get access to the space lasers.
We control the weather.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
It's some crazy shit, but hey, at least the pendulum is kind of swinging back towards, at least what I would consider the right side. We talked about this before with Cara Dune. I didn't like even seeing her character in the show very much because like I couldn't get the taste of her out of my mouth after seeing all the crap she posted online. And so at least now we're finally getting that good clean purge and a good clean cut. So see you later, Cara Dune.
I'm glad she didn't have a major role in the show either. Like she's
exactly. I was about to say, we'll forget her. We'll forget her next season. The show has so many amazing characters, and so many like the mains are so incredible, and even some of the side characters are so good that like she'll be an afterthought.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of things that aren't an afterthought, though, Jake, you've got some forethought, and it's time. It seems like for the first ever Jake's Takes. What you got for us, Jake?
Yeah. Run that intro. Or at least I think we have one. Do we have an intro?
We do have the intro. Should be here. Just there you go.
Oh, there it is. It's so great.
Thank you. I fucking worked my ass off on this.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I dig it too. I've listened to it about 1 million times for the serotonin boost.
Yes.
My favorite part's still the end.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's a good intro.
Great job, intro. That's a good intro.
It's a great intro.
Yeah. So as you guys could tell from the intro, this is a new segment called Jake's Takes. And obviously I'm Jake, and here's my take. If you haven't heard, at the end of last year, and a game come out called Cyberpunk 2077, and we're about to just get into what was up with that. First, I'd like to start by saying that I have a beast of a PC, and like just a humble brag. I realized that my experience with this game has been vastly different than others who might have been playing it on console or even PCs without a 30 series graphics card. Also, I'm 100% getting into some story shit probably later. So if you don't want spoilers, you may want to forget everything that I'm about. With that out of the way, Cyberpunk 2077 actually gave me life these past few months. I'm going to start with the good, then give you the bad, and then we'll get into my final thoughts. But for the good, as soon as I booted this game up, I knew it would be for me. The futuristic look with the tech dystopian future is everything that I've ever video game. When Ziggy Q belts out, "Good morning, Night City," I know I'm about to be transported into a setting that's new yet all too familiar. I think Mad Max meets Assassin's Creed in a way, or Blade Runner meets, Blade Runner. It's essentially a Blade Runner game. You play as V, which is a merc with something to prove. My first playthrough, I chose Corpo, as I myself am a corporate slave. I rushed to get the first mission because I wanted to spend as much time with Keanu, aka Johnny Silverhand, as possible. And boy, was that a solid move. The commentary Johnny provides and extra layers he adds to the story are just fucking delightful, guys. I put 70 plus hours into this game before finally finishing it. And I could have easily beat the main story in roughly 30. That is kind of a short story for a game that was so highly hyped, but overall with some of the side stuff, it's an incredible adventure. There's so much to do in Night City that, I really loved my time in it. The characters are beautiful. The side stories are fun and engaging. The combat is wild and pretty, with a pretty deep perk, a tree. RPG fans are going to be spending hours trying to figure out what are the most OP as possible combos. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows in Night City. Obviously, there's Pacifica, which if you play the game, that's funny. But anyway, even with an $800 graphics card over here, and enough power to mine straight bitcoins, my PC struggled at times, playing on higher graphics settings especially. You can clip through the map, cars will explode, killing you instantly, because literally anything that fucking explodes kills you instantly. And sometimes the AI just goes wild and cars and characters disappear, or like you fall out of the sky. And the AI in this game is without a doubt the worst I've ever seen in a long time. Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead, Redemption, these all had better AI characters in their open world settings than what is in this brand new fucking, it's essentially premium game, right? And the children are literally just adult models that they shrunk tinier. So that's a fucking nightmare. If you're walking around Night City and you look at what is essentially a child, you're like, holy shit, that's just a person that's supposed to be big but small.
Yeah.
And so it was nightmare fuel. But the game is just so much polish, but just doesn't feel finished. That's kind of like one of the biggest takeaways. There are a lot of bugs in this game, and while it was beyond hyped, it still didn't feel complete. But I remember Skyrim, and to be honest, the experience was very similar. A beautiful game with amazing characters in a world that I didn't want to leave, even with bugs. So for my final thoughts, as of right now, it's the best game that I've played in 2021. The setting is exactly what I could have asked for in a bleak, futuristic dystopian owned by corporations and street gangs. Keanu is great as Johnny Silverhand, with multiple endings making me wish we could have somehow coexisted together, because that just, wasn't in the cards, and you always had to split from Johnny, and I didn't really like that. You develop a friendship with Keanu, and I kind of enjoyed spending time with him. The love interests in this game are great as well, and the other relationships really remind you just how fun platonic friendships can be. When you're trying to fuck this one chick who's clearly not into dudes, you eventually find out that oh, sure, fuck. Well, why don't I quit trying to get in her pants? And why don't I just figure out what she knows about hacking? Turns out she knows a lot about hacking and can help you out a lot. So it's fun to just make those platonic friendships with the world burning around you. Rather you rode in the sunset with Pan Am, handed over your body to Johnny, or become a Night City legend, when complete, this game feels like a good game should. It lacks polish at times and could have definitely been a better game with a few more hours of story missions. But overall, I'm pleased with the time that I put in the Night City, and personally can't wait to get back there for some juicy free DLC that CD Projekt Red's gonna hookups.
Oh yeah.
And so that's my Jake's takes on Cyberpunk 2077.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. It's interesting to hear the best game of 2021, because we're in February, so that's not a hard, Yeah, there's not very many games that you probably played. I mean, unless you burned through a lot of them. But
it was my favorite game at the end of last year, but I didn't really put enough hours into it until January. And so it was one of those where I definitely loved playing it towards the end of last year, but it got really good for me this year. And so,
well, I know it's cheesy, but what's the most cyberpunk moment that you had in Cyberpunk? What was the moment that really set this world apart from just a GTA with a different skin?
Oh man, it's got to be the side stories. Some of the side missions, especially one of the first ones that I stumbled upon was about this a rogue AI ran pistol that you can either pick for it to do all headshots or all kneecap shots. And so whatever you pick is, he gives commentary the whole time. So whenever you switch to Cold Dead Assassin, which essentially is where you just give straight headshots, the whole time he's talking kind of shit about you for being a killer. And then, and then not long after that one, I ran into a guy who had literally blown his dick off with a dick implant, and you have to run him to a hospital. And the whole time you're thinking that's not something you would see in GTA, because it's not set far enough in the future for them to have robot dicks yet. And so, that was just, that was just one of my favorite kind of dystopian moments was, driving a man to the hospital so that he could get his robot member put back on after it exploded. Yeah. No, and I get that. And there's probably 2 cutscenes where you actually get to see V after putting all the effort into making them look how you want them to look, wearing whatever clothes, you know, you really don't ever even really get to see them.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of a bummer, but the first person perspective of the game adds a whole nother layer, especially when you're talking about Keanu's character of Johnny Silverhand, who's essentially a construct that's stuck in your head that just projects himself into the reality, but only you can see and talk to him. No one else can.
So
and
like
so exactly, it's very much like Fight Club. And so literally the whole time you're playing this game in first person, every now and then you'll just hear Keanu in the back, like, you know, hey V, I don't like the feeling I'm getting here. And you'll turn around and like, you know, he's over there. And like, it just makes you feel almost more connected to the characters in a way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I
cool.
thank
Yeah,
God they allowed driving to go into third person, because holy shit, driving in first person, awful.
Oh, that's
So I'm
hard in
wondering
any
with
game,
like
man.
the new version, when the version that they're supposed to be the, you know, next gen version, if you will. I wonder if they'll implement that. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe they got their hands full with all the other bugs and stuff, but that'd be kind of cool.
If they fix
yeah.
anything with the next gen version, I hope it's the tiny adults.
Yeah, they actually add
That sounds scary.
child models. Yeah, it's fucking weird, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds terrifying. Personally, well, I think that'll about wrap it up for our headline section. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. We may probably try to reset our internet connections, because I know it's been hard seeing us if you're watching us live right now. But before we do, I want to say thank you for almost just everybody that's been here in chat, just sticking around with us today. Thank you very much. We had Wrong Priority also follow us about 2 days ago. And
Noise.
yeah, so shout out
Cool
to Wrong Priority. They have the right priorities when it comes to picking streams.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah. So without further ado, we're going to take a short 5-minute break, but stick around because we got so much more coming up. When we come back, we're going to be talking about bad romance, as well as our top 10 super power couples of all time.
We just
So
got
there's
hit with a
plenty more Geek
DMCA.
Life coming this way. Stick around. We'll see you in a bit.
Who's that Pokemon?
Tastes like a lost job.
Tastes like a lost job. You fired. That's not how he does it, right?
You fired.
You fired. Evidently there we go. We're back into our regular setting. We popped into the time temple for a second there, but we popped back. You know, this is where,
as one does.
As one does, you know, we go back and forth. Welcome back to Geek Life City. That's what I'm calling
You're
our
not
background.
bound
now.
by the laws of physics and nature.
No, not at all. Why would we? Speaking of not being bound by the laws of physics and nature, here's something that's completely unrelated to that. It's Valentine's Day, and love is in the air. As with every holiday in the apocalypse, this is definitely being celebrated a bit differently. One thing is for certain, though. We have definitely grown more romantic with the content we consume, right? Well, this romance has gotten even more hot and heavy during the pandemic. We have to wonder, is this relationship toxic? In fact, our media romanticizes a lot. And tonight we're going to talk about whether or not that is a good, or cue the Lady Gaga music, bad romance.
Good Gaga.
Let's start with our biggest trope, the biggest trope of all, love as a test of character. It feels like the media loves to twist and make it look like a flurry, make love look like a fury of overwhelming passion. People instantly fall in love, skip a couple of bases, let emotions fly, and have the best or worst 2 weeks of their life in a relationship. And this is how relationships are typically pictured on screen, which is rather unrealistic. It's completely unrealistic if you compare it to the expectations that they set in 500 Days of Summer, or even Kylo Ren sacrificing himself. Why is putting each other's love to the test such a thing in pop culture, Jake?
Yeah, no, it's definitely like a reoccurring trope that always happens. And it's whenever we were talking about like bad romances and in pop culture and everything, that was one of the first things I thought of, is because, like, you know, I've been in a pretty solid relationship for about 10 years. And so, like, you know, it's one of those where, like, it's not just something new. And like, we've never really like tested each other. Like there's some people like, you know, you'll see in pop culture or in movies or something. It's always like, I have to act like insanely crazy to see if this is the one, you know, like, and it sets this like crazy tone where people just think like they have to constantly be testing their partner to see like if they're the right one. And it's just like, did you ever think that was maybe like a dick move? Right. You know, like, and that like by testing your partner, you're literally just pushing them further away. You know, like, why would you like be doing like some crazy shit like that? Like,
yeah,
you know,
you don't have to go through and match up on every single part of that checklist on the first date, especially.
No, exactly.
And 50 First Dates, I feel like, is a movie about making dates where you hit every single part of the checklist on day one. You know,
I think he had to. That was that was a special one.
Plot.
I like how 500 Days of Summer though, because that movie is like probably one of the great, like a great example of like how people like choose to romanticize romance, you know? And then like, you know, at the end of it, she's like, were they good days? And he's just like, yeah, no, they're fucking great. And then he actually has to think about it. And then he's like, oh yeah, no, we argued a lot. You know, like, and so like I think that's a great one. And then, you know, because it just kind of puts into perspective that like, you know, it's not all just sunshine and rainbows, right? But then like that whole thing is about like putting, you know, like just your relationship to the test in general.
Yeah, right.
Which is like let the world do that. The world's gonna put it, and then like shit
Life's
will
gonna
put
test it enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to test your relationship. The world will do that for you.
Do it for you.
Yeah.
You don't need to compete with the shit that the world puts in there.
Yeah.
Pandemic.
Right.
Exactly.
Kev, why are couples always testing each other in pop culture? And what does it say about real world relationships? Are we constantly putting each other to the test?
Well, Dad, we're getting these examples from probably the worst place to get relationship advice or examples from, Hollywood. So I think that's where some of that stuff sort of resonates or it's kind of trickles down into. And I think, yeah, we kind of get set up, right? We're like this idea of how relationships are supposed to be, as Jake mentioned, is that, oh yeah, I got to test to make sure this relationship works to see if I'm really in love with this person. Like, no, you don't. That doesn't make sense. You know, it's not supposed to be like this fleeting sensation of like an exploding firework in the sky. It's supposed to be boring sometimes, but but at the end of the day, you're supposed to feel safe. But that doesn't make for a good Hollywood story.
Yeah.
So, you know, these sort of testing of relationships and things of that nature kind of gives us a reason to invest into characters. It's something outside of our norm. Unfortunately, we try to adapt that into our actual life, you know, life imitating fiction, not the other way around. And, you know, it also creates more dilemmas and gives like characters more implications for, you know, themselves, their own story arcs, right? Like it'll give you a reason to feel bad for a villain. Because they'll have means to justify the ends for an antagonist or an opportunity for an ultimate sacrifice for the protagonist, right? Like you need to have that extra variable that kind of gives the characters another challenge, I guess. And for some reason, we try to see that in our own selves, right? It's like, yes, we already have a fucking 9-to-5 job that we probably don't enjoy, and now here's this other angle of like something that's always like picking me into like my side or whatever. And that's like, we try to correlate these things, I guess. And that kind of expresses itself into an art medium of like movies and television.
Right. No, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think the real reason we see it so much is because we're taking it from the worst examples, which is Hollywood. You know, I think that epitomizes everything there.
Drama. It's the drama, you know, like I think people, they want the drama of like, you know, kind of like putting each other to the test or something like that, you know, and it's like, it's like you said, people don't realize like, you know, because movies, the whatever, I don't even know how many hours me and Jessica dumped into binge watching Demon Slayer. That doesn't make for good TV. You know what I mean? But like we had a great time. Right. And so like, you know,
relationship looks like.
Exactly. And that's what a large majority of it looks like. That and eating at restaurants whenever the pandemic's not around. You know, like, or eating in general. I think that's why on weight in relationships is because like you just
really doing a lot of it's really progressively doing more of the things that you would do by yourself, and like the more intimate you become, the more you check off that list, right? You know, it's like, okay, not now we just eat in front of this person. Well, now we come in front of this person. Well, now we're really intimate, and I can shit with the door open.
It's not leave these like latitudinal, longitudinal coordinates on a piece of paper and disappear and say, I hope he finds me or she finds me. Like what?
Right.
That's not romance. That's just adventuring, or that's just navigating the world. Anyway.
Yeah. and it's also like, as Jake said in the first point, like the life will test it enough. You don't need to go be the one stress test in relationships. So,
Exactly.
you know, that's one thing I would say about that. Another big trope though that you see in media though is love and almost, you know, mental disorders as a way. Love and abuse as a huge part of it. We see relationships in media and pop culture that are often put on a pedestal, but should they be? There are tons of highly romanticized but highly toxic relationships in media. The biggest and most obvious example is the legendary Harley Quinn. It's not too uncommon to hear some tool on the internet saying, she's the Harley to my Joker. But what does that even mean? Is your relationship based in Stockholm Syndrome and abuse? Like, I mean, what the fuck does that supposed to mean in the first place? If you know anything about comics, you wouldn't compare your relationship to Harley Quinn and the Joker. Jake, can you think of any other examples?
I always think of like people who think of Gatsby and Daisy. That's a big one, you know, like, or whatever from The Great Gatsby. Like they always put like Gatsby as like look at this, you know, they were super romantic. Or even dude, I had another one and now I'm drawing a blank. But like there's so many of these like, you know, big relationships where the guy was either cheating on somebody or is actually going to murder her real husband. You know, or, you know, like there's always like some kind of, you know, craziness going on. And there's just tons of examples in media where they essentially like, you know, turn these toxic relationships into somehow like, you know, everybody's favorite one, like the Harley and Joker, you know, that always kind of gets called, you know, especially with super cringy couples where they're essentially like talking about being, you know, each other's Harley and Joker. And it's like, yeah, so, you know, you're in abusive relationships, what you're saying. You know, like, you know, because the Joker doesn't like actually love Harley. I don't think he ever really has, you know, like, and I think they do a good job, even in the animated series, of showing that, you know, like that, you know, that Joker, she was always just kind of written to be just a side character to Joker, and that's how he treats her. And so, Romeo and Juliet's another one too, man. People, you know, like that one's been used through Taylor Swift songs all throughout history. And it's just like, bro, that's a fucking like double like suicide or something, right? Like that's
a toxic relationship. They weren't star-crossed lovers. They had mental health issues.
Yeah, like they needed to go see therapists.
Yes,
like, not each other.
Yeah. Right. Apologize. The snow is coming in heavily. Also, I've just been notified that there may be blackouts in my area for periodically for 15 minutes. In which case, see you when I see you guys.
What God is not telling you is that he's been sworn to secrecy because he's currently under an invasion from an unknown alien entity
that periodically checks in here about every 15 minutes, and which is why I have to shut off all the power, including the one to the street.
They're siphoning his electricity. So.
And I only told you, this audience on Twitch, because I know you'll keep it a secret.
Right. Exactly.
Kev, this one's coming back to you. What makes on-screen relationships healthy, and should they be? Do they have to be?
For great storytelling, unfortunately, they don't have to be. They should be, but you know, like I said, great relationships look boring sometimes in reality, but you know, they're great because you know you feel safe and secure, and you have a good person that's going to be by your side. But you know, just check a couple boxes. One, they need to be healthy and consensual. That's very important. Two, they should be realistic. Like, for examples, we have to stop with this angle of, you know, the relentless pursuit of women as being romantic. That's a trope that never works and is really dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous to encourage.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't work, guys. She doesn't want you. She doesn't want you. That's it. It's okay. Move on. And inclusion and representation, I think that also needs to be sort of displayed more. I think showing that there's more than just heterosexual relationships is important, right? Because how
Hey,
do we normalize anything? You make it normal. So,
right.
yeah.
I mean, I've said it before, but I mean, seeing a lot of relationships on screen and seeing that, like Constantine and Jared Harkness, and seeing how bisexuality can be represented in such a masculine way helped me come to terms with that with myself. So showing those in healthy relationships would definitely be good. You know, one of the things that you frequently see is with almost any queer character is queer characters based in queer trauma. And so like you know, like you know, to go on a tangent, one of the things that was really wasn't based in trauma, and showed, you know, a unique form of representation in that way. But anyways, I'm getting too far off of on a tangent. You know, I think that those are quality characteristics for a healthy on-screen relationship. I would agree with that one.
David in general was just a great example of, like, you know, just like as far as like if you're like, even Jessica's dad, this like old dude from Alabama, was watching Schitt's Creek and was like, I like this David guy, you know, and it's always like, there you go, man, you gotta like dip the toes in.
Right. That's how you get them out there.
Yeah.
But Jake, I want to see what you thought about this though. What does an on-screen relationship have to be healthy?
I mean, obviously not like to sell tickets, right?
Right.
You know, I think like you know, some of the biggest watched shows, even on Netflix, if you think about it, the show You, like, you know, is about like essentially a serial killer who goes around and stalks women. And then like, you know, when he does finally like approach them, or they approach him, you know, he like knows so much about them because he's literally been stalking them, you know. And so but that show was one of the most watched shows, you know. And so there's like so many like examples of like terrible relationships in television and movies and everything. And like, we all go through bad relationships, you know, and then we all go through good ones. But like TV just definitely puts magnifying glasses on the good and the bad, I think, you know, in relationships, and kind of like, you know, blows it up and makes you think that that's the reality, whenever that's actually just such a small sliver of the reality, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that's one of the biggest things. I lost my train of thought again. What was the main question?
Do on-screen relationships have to be healthy?
Yeah, no, they don't have to be healthy, but it's good to see healthy ones, I think, is the you know, the big thing is like, you know, they don't have to be healthy, obviously not. There's a lot of very big shows that don't have healthy ones, but when they are, it's kind of refreshing sometimes, you know, to see like a good relationship and be like, especially like if you're in a good relationship yourself, which, you know, you can be like, dude, that's like a reflection of like us and our funness and our quirkiness, right? Like, and so like there's the dude who did Regular Show did a animated series for HBO called Close Enough. And it's basically about like, you know, it's the same dude from Regular Show, so it's very Regular Show-esque, right? You know, every episode starts off normal and gets fucking nuts. And so but it's about a couple and their kid, and they're like a millennial couple. And, you know, they go through a lot of like normal couple shit that turns into Regular Show like shit, right? Yeah. But like the show is still like very much like normal couple stuff that gets kind of blown out into proportion, right? And so it was really reassuring though to see this like, you know, this mess of 30-year-olds essentially, you know, try to figure out like how to raise this super smart child and everything like that. And it's just like, you know, it's reflective of a real relationship, and so it was refreshing, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a toxic one. They love each other. They support each other, like all that good stuff. And like, I think seeing that on screen it's good for people. And
what was the name of that show again?
Close Enough. It's on HBO Max. It's pretty good.
It's made by I think I've been looking for that one for a second. I'm going to write that down. Anyways, moving right along, because we got a lot to talk about here. While the toxic romanticization of characters shows itself most apparent in on-screen relationships, there are plenty of romanticizing that happens to characters that's completely independent of relationships, right? BoJack is a highly beloved character who 100% romanticizes depression and alcoholism. Similar things can be said about Rick from Rick and Morty. There are plenty of critics who claim video games and modern media romanticize violence and kind of being a shitty person in general. Jake, how does this kind of romanticization different, and is it more or less toxic?
Oh, I mean, if it's more or less toxic, it's a tough one. I think it's a little bit like it's not too much different though, than the actual like romanticization of like bad toxic traits of love, because I think love could be looked at as or the obsession that love can bring can be looked at as a drug just as much as alcohol or anything like that. But I think like the biggest thing is when people see these shitty traits in these characters and they automatically think like, oh shit, that's like me. And it's like, dude, no, man. Like Rick Sanchez, or, like Rick's an alcoholic and Bojack is an addict and everything and depressed and all this stuff. And it's to show you that like, even though Bojack has everything, his happiness is still something that he needed to find. It wasn't going to be anything that he took, anything that he did, any acting job that he got, and so like that was kind of like one of the stories you're supposed to take away from it. Not that it's okay to be a belligerent asshole, like so like but people, and we talked about that before because we had the Island of Misfit content deep dive that we did, is just that when characters are kind of left up to a person's interpretation too much sometimes, people will put and or pull and reflect on the things that they consider to be like the traits that they like hold the dearest to them, and sometimes that's the shitty traits, and it's just like they completely miss the point of that character.
100%. Sometimes it feels like trying to show a character's flaws, it does more than just humanize them. Sometimes it legitimizes their flaws to others that have them. Kev, do you think this is just viewers misunderstanding content or writers showing too much good with the bad?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. I think it's the writers trying to show that things aren't always black and white outside of like the obvious terrible, crimes against humanity. And that everyone is human and flawed adds to more complexity and philosophical conundrums, especially when writing story plots, right? Like in acting, when you're playing a villain, you have to believe yourself to be the good guy. It's how you sell that character. It gives your character more nuance. It makes people kind of question, right? They know you're doing some terrible shit, but at the same time, they're like, damn, I understand why they're doing it. Doesn't mean you have to agree, but it gives a point of view of where these sort of terrible acts come from, what place they're coming from, what created this character, that, and I think that's the point, right? The writers aren't trying to, and I'm assuming that they're not trying to write a character and say, oh, it's okay to be this shitty person if this happens to you. I think they're literally just saying, no, this is how this person ended up at this point in their life.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and people, like Jake was saying, people take that as an excuse to enable themselves to, continue on with any sort of toxic behavior or habits that they may have. And I think that's the dangerous there, right? That's where you start dangerously romanticizing things that you shouldn't be, as opposed to looking at it as a life lesson or lessons learned. Because in the end, those characters never win and they never obtain any sort of peace or justification for what they want.
Oh yeah.
It's just a sort of reason behind why they act the way that they act, as opposed to just being like lizard brain where they're just reacting off instincts.
Right.
And good intentions never justify actions, but in fiction, they make for great storytelling.
That's true. That's very true.
That's why I always love the Rick and Morty episode where Rick has the secret toilet, and the guy uses it or whatever. And he's like, the king of shit. And when the guy dies and he goes and sits on the toilet at the very end, and all the stuff pulls up and it's like, oh, look at you. You're the king of shit, and it's all, flipping him off and everything like that's going on or whatever. And it's Rick's sad, there's sadness there. And it's because like, literally, and he's even got the pop for it. Nice, Don. Yeah. But like, there's the reason, he's sad is because he's just like, that was his friend. He didn't want to admit it, but like he had made a friend in that like kind of enemy, you know what I mean? And it's just because he's empty, and like instead of like looking at that, and thinking like, oh shit, Rick's an empty person, like this guy is not like, he's not somebody I should look up to or, hold like to such a high, like, I want to be like that guy. People do. They go like, oh, but he's a genius that made all this other shit. And it's like, yeah, I mean, but like, Dan Harmon didn't write him to be your hero.
No, right.
But like, that's how people just take it though.
That's what I was thinking about the whole, content of like, whether or not all relationships have to be healthy. I don't think they have to be healthy, but you have to show why those are bad if you're trying to be responsible with content.
Yeah.
If you're irresponsible with the content, then you're going to heroicize people like Rick or Bojack.
Joe.
But and honestly, in all of the examples that were showed here, we've talked about here, they do show a lot of cons to that depressive side. Like they do try to show it in a very realistic sense.
Yeah.
And in that regard, that does add to the content, in my opinion, versus taking away from it.
Like Joe from you know, no consequences for any of his actions, just being completely rewarded at every corner. Like what?
Right.
What?
Yeah,
Not to give any spoilers away, but yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's always bizarre whenever it just like they just like have the super toxic character and everything works out for them. I'm always like, I'm waiting for shit to hit the fan, because I like a lot of my favorite stuff, and Rick and Morty's one of them. I just think people overlook it. Is that the shitty people usually get their just desserts? Like Rick,
They do.
is never like when he's a shitty person, it never leads to his happiness, right? Like when he, you know, and so it's just one of those where like I think Dan does, you know, and I say Dan because we're close friends. Dan Harmon does a great job of like, you know, showing the good with the bad, right? But then, you know, some people they don't. They just want to show like, here's the bad and it's good. And it's just no, like come on, man. Like when you like, I think we were talking about it earlier, you know, actions have consequences. And so it's good to show those consequences on screen. So even if you're going to be shitty in a relationship, they should show the consequences of being shitty in said relationship.
I agree. And like, this isn't something that's just stuck to TV or Twitch or anything. It's in music too. There's no shortage of songs that glorify threatening overtones, all the way from Baby It's Cold Outside, which is a song I used to like until you think about it, until you listen to it, and like, I feel like it's one of those things with 2020 vision, but I think it got canceled a lot further than 2020 anyways. But it sounds super creepy. Every Breath You Take is another one. Blame It on the Alcohol. Of course, there's Robin Thicke's literal anthem, Blurred Lines. Emo is particularly potent brew of romance and violence. That's an interesting one there. I can think of Pick Up the Phone by Falling in Reverse. That's just abuse. That's all that was. You know, that's all that song was about. And, while many emo songs are full of longing and daydreams for unrequited affection, their tales of intense pursuit are also sometimes accelerated into explicit aggression towards women, and when things don't go the narrator's way. Music proves that this isn't just a silver screen issue, right, Jake? You are love songs just as much to blame for our shitty view of romance?
I honestly think love songs got to be held just as like high as your shitty rom-com relationship, right? You know, and it's just because it's just like with anything else, it's usually an unrealistic view, you know, like and even though like some people like, I just always love one of my favorite jokes is every time Taylor Swift comes out with an album, I'm like, I wonder if this is the time Jessica breaks up with me so this album can really hit for her, you know what I mean? Like and so like, you know, because there's just so many people out there that long for like or that, you know, we relate to the music we listen to. We usually relate to the content that we take in and everything. And so the like emo is such a great like kind of example in a way, because there are a lot of songs about pursuing active, like hard, like aggressively pursuing, you know, like people and not necessarily like respecting boundaries. And emo was one of those too that like definitely, and even new kind of like the kind of like, I don't even know, emo rap kind of like, you know, Lil Xan style shit or whatever, right? Like that's been kind of like, you know, popping up in recent years. It is also like very like, if you don't love me, I will kill myself. Right. And it's just like, that's toxic. That is not like, you know, something that, you know, the kids should be jamming to, you know, like as far as like, and so it's, I think music has to be just as much to blame as anything else, if not even more in some aspects, because I just feel like people connect with music almost more than they do movies and television.
I mean, that's one thing I would say. Like, I feel like some people would argue against this and say, oh, it's just a song. Well, like, I feel like there's just a song has motivated me to feel a certain, like, even if it's something that I may not be in the same situation or whatever the case may be, like music makes you relate to a certain vibe, and if that vibe can certainly entice you to do some shady shit. I'll tell you that much.
But here's the thing too, like the thing about it just being a song doesn't work here because most of the artists that are making these songs, they also usually live that life.
Yeah.
Right? Like so it's not just a song. This came from a place of some kind of truth, whether it was internalized or something they actually did or had thought about doing. So that right there is an influence, and there's a reason why Gen Z has been thought of as being suffering from depression and anxiety, which is crazy because they're all so young. Like, and part of it could be, just I guess a microcosm of their generation being what they've grown into, right? Most of them were born during the 9/11 era, but we grew up some of us grew up right after the tail end of Reaganomics.
Yeah, we're all depressed too, though.
Right, we're all exactly.
We didn't get any better. So if they grew up with in the same time we did, no wonder they're fucking depressed too.
Yeah. So it's like I think it does like. I think there is real damage done by love songs when it comes to like how society views them, because like Jake said, sometimes some people either they self-manifest this because they either really love this artist or this type of music so much that they kind of want to embody the whole experience and they don't really know what they're asking for, or two, they are kind of self-sabotaging themselves because of what is constantly influencing their lives, right? Like everyone listens to the music for the most part, and more so than you do probably watch music or television because it's more digestible.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think it's also it's a slippery slope because you don't want to ever sound like the people who think like Marilyn Manson makes people go do like shootings or something, right? Like I don't think the music actually like
he also
makes
recently came out as an abuser.
No, I mean
He's
what?
A bad example.
Shocking.
Yeah. Right.
Maryland looks like an upstanding citizen. But like, that's the big one is that, like, I don't think music, movies, television, anything like that makes us do anything, but I do think it can help normalize bad behavior. Right. Like, especially some of the music that people like listen to, because it is like you were saying, Kev, it's responsive, right? Like we listen to it and then, songs can make us cry just like a movie or, a show can or anything like that. They all can elicit, kind of reactions. And so
I think that's absolutely a fair point to make here with that. I think that music can give you a certain vibe or at least make you resonate with something, but it's not gonna, there's a fine line between that and like literally, playing your Beatles music backwards is gonna make you kill JFK.
Yeah, it's not going to make you storm a Capitol or anything like that,
Right. No, you got to go to QAnon for that shit.
Yeah, exactly. You got to get deep into it.
straight from the source, right? Younger generations like millennials and Zoomers have definitely had an effect on how media portrays love. We were talking about them earlier. Many of our parents even rose up, many of our parents and even us to an extent grew up watching movies in which women found it flattering when their purses showed up an uninvited
pursuers.
If pursuers showed up uninvited with a boombox outside of their window, or broke into their bedrooms to watch them sleep, or even confess their feelings via poster board while their love interest partner sat in the next room. But is that changing? Jake, do you feel the younger generations have changed what is acceptable and when it comes to on-screen romance and dating?
I definitely think our generation and the Gen Z, and I mean, even some of our, like, I would say even some of our parents' generation to an extent had started, like you said, maybe It's Cold Outside got canceled a few years back. Right. And so it's one of those where, like, John Legend and I think it was like somebody else had to come together and do like an updated version.
Kelly Clarkson.
Of like, baby, It's Cold Outside. And so it's like, obviously we're changing things. And like the fact
you consent.
Yeah. And the fact that we look at like, basically like stalker like behavior of the 80s, because there's a lot of rom-coms from the 80s and stuff. Like ask your mom's favorite movie is probably like Pretty in Pink or something. That movie's toxic as fuck. And so there's like, or 16 Candles. There's a lot of movies where like it's about like predatory behavior, where this is a full grown man deep into his 20s looking at a girl who's essentially 15, and being like, hey, you're about to be 16 though, and wherever the fuck we're at, that means it's cool.
American Beauty.
Yeah, oh, dude, American
God.
Beauty.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and there's just so many
That
movies.
aged so poorly.
Not just for Kevin
God.
Spacey either.
Not just for Kevin Spacey.
And so
Ah.
I think, like, yeah, our generation, just like, you know, but you know, I don't think it's just our generation. I think every generation pushes the media and the stuff that they consume even further and further. And you know, we should be progressing, right, as a society, always progressing. And I feel like, you know, while we do have a lot of fucking work to do, if you really pull back the candles, like if you're looking at stocks prices or anything like that, right, and you're like looking at the full picture of like, well, here's where we were and here's where we are today, we have made progress. You know, there has been progress that's been made. And so like we can only hope that our generation and Gen Z included, and even the next one, whatever the fuck that is, I don't even know, you know, like continue to push things.
Go to Gen X.
Yeah, I know,
No,
right?
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But no, like I hope
Gen
we
X
continue
too.
to push things, and we continue to see more representation of LGBT couples, you know, more healthy couples, less toxic couples, and you know, even just continuing to teach people just what is good and bad about relationships, right? And so
I agree.
I definitely feel like our generation and every generation pushes, you know, media into what should essentially be a more progressive, you know, direction.
Yeah. I agree. Kev, do you feel that younger generations have pushed representation further, or is this just a natural evolution of entertainment itself?
No, I think that evolution definitely comes from the influence of the younger generations pushing for more representation, and I guess more healthy representation of what romance is in movies, right? Because I think, like Jake said, we are progressing, and that should be happening, and it is. We certainly have our work cut out for us, but we are moving in the right direction. But I think just, you know, as you like technology and social media definitely kind of bridge these gaps, right? Where you're able to sort of make different connections and see different people and have different experiences, or even be part of different communities. And then you sort of identify with those communities and you wonder why you don't see more of those communities being represented, or yourself even being represented. I think that's where that place is kind of coming from, and what's sort of driving that into what we see in today's media.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Jake, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think we pretty much covered like most of it. Like the younger generation's definitely pushing it, and I feel like, you know, it does. I think there is a natural evolution that happens. How quickly though the progression happens, that's up to the people in each one of those generations. And I feel like Gen Z and I feel like millennials to an extent too, you know, where like you're kind of overseeing some of the tropes. You're tired of like rapey shit being in all of our rom-coms, man.
Yeah,
you know, like that's just one of the big things. But then I say that, and then also fucking You is one of the most watched shows, and who's watching that? It's us.
Yeah, that's true.
We want to watch it to say it's bad, I hope. You know, we want to watch it to say, oh my gosh, that's so toxic, you shouldn't do that. You know, I'm hoping that's the case. Right?
It's like it's watching it. I think it's just that the train wreck phenomenon, right? Like I wasn't watching because I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I'm like, God, this is fucking awful, but I can't look away.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, not every depiction of love in media is bad or toxic, okay? Some characters have genuine love and build such a connection, not just with themselves, but with the audience. And we have no other opinion to share. We have no other option than to stare in awe at the power of their passion for one another. So tonight, since it is one for lovers, we're dimming the lights and we're giving you our top 10 superpowered couples, starting off with an arrow to the heart. That's right. Number 10 in the countdown is Green Arrow and the Canary. Oliver Queen has had an off and on again relationship with Dinah Laurel Lance, the daughter of the first Black Canary, who carried on her superhero career. They eventually got married to one another, and their son Connor Hawke replaced his father, the Green Arrow, after Queen died. Now, what I love about Green Arrow and Canary, and why I feel like they work so well, is that in a superhero relationship, you actually have, for one of the few times, a really dominant, powerful, aggressive female. I mean, like Canary is he wears the pants in the relationship. Let's be fucking honest here. At least in the comics version of it. I mean, Canary is the fight trainer for all the different young superheroes at Academy, and Canary honestly is better on her feet than a lot of the other superheroes because if your only ability is Canary Cry, you got to get pretty crafty with that shit, right?
Yeah.
If you got one, if you're a
one trick pony.
That's what the analogy is. Thank you. A one trick pony. Then you got to make sure your trick is pretty fucking good, and then your other tricks also can pack a punch too. Where Ollie is not the case. I mean, Green Arrow just pulls another different trick arrow out of the quiver.
Literally.
He's also Green Arrow is a noted leftist and a political leader. So the dynamic between just powerhouse, full on just dom power woman and political icon who's more of a kind-hearted guy, but is still a fucking superhero with $1 bazillion and gadgets out the ass. It just makes a really cool dichotomy between the two. And that's why I've always loved Green Arrow and Canary. What do you think about Green Arrow and Canary making number 10 of the list, Jake?
I mean, Green Arrow, I like him as a, obviously like DC has been my big, I'm a DC guy, but like at the end of the day, it's just like Hawkeye and, the dude just like, still another rich guy that shoots really good, bow and arrow
but
skills.
Hawkeye doesn't have a canary.
That's what I was going to say is what makes this couple super powered is Canary. Like Oliver is like bank account may be super powered, but Canary actually has the Canary scream, which is like you said, once she gets that honed in, it's dangerous. Like she can take down, I believe she's even like pretty much like put Superman down before with just the sonic, because even him being super powered, he still can't handle the sonic blast from her. And so like, she's definitely something to deal with, but with with Green Arrow, I almost fucked that up. But with Green Arrow at her side too, she's even more dangerous. So, definitely see why they're at number 10.
Yeah. Right.
Great couple nonetheless.
Yeah. A strong power couple. You got anything to say on Green Arrow making number 10? Green Arrow and Canary making number 10, Kev?
Yeah, I'm always here shipping Green Arrow and Canary. I was kind of bummed during the Arrowverse that it didn't really happen per se. It was Olicity. I wasn't really a fan of that. But that did take a lot of people off of Arrow. I will say that was one thing that once they made that canon, once they made Olicity a thing, it just didn't make sense. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. That's another topic.
I mean, and they got cute little pet names too. I mean, like he called her Pretty Bird. I mean, I thought that was really. I don't know. I think that's that. I also cosplay the Green Arrow frequently, so that's maybe why I have such an affinity for that pairing. But number 9 on the countdown shows that love isn't blind, but sometimes it is. Daredevil and Elektra make number 9 on the countdown. And Kev, tell us why Daredevil and Elektra are such a great pair.
Yeah, the love affair between Elektra Natchios and Matt Murdock is one fraught with misery and despair. Just when they were looking like they might be able to take it further, Elektra goes and gets herself impaled on the end of one of her own size, thanks to Bullseye. She crawled to Matt's stoop and died in his arms. She didn't stay dead for long, though, but being reborn didn't exactly make her run back to Matt, and they have had a chaotic relationship for most of their tenure together in the Marvel Universe. You can see that same representation or interpretation in the Daredevil and Defenders universe, where Elektra and Matt have this sort of on and off toxic relationship where Elektra is constantly leading Matt astray to, do these random ass missions and take him away from his responsibilities, or spending time with his friends to do these wild goose chases or help Elektra. And then at the end of it, still finding a way to break his heart, even after being reborn from the dead. So yeah, great sort of example of the relationship that you don't want or do want. Right. I don't know what you're into, but
I mean, it's definitely as far if you're looking at one of the kind of bad romance relationships that we have going on here, it definitely falls in that like love the test of strength. Love is a test of strength. What did I put it on here? Love is a test of character. It kind of scenarios. I remember a lot of that from the Defender series, from even Daredevil series there on himself, and a lot of toxicity. It definitely exemplified in that, but at the same time, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of romance, a lot of chemistry. I mean, there's a reason why these two characters are attracted to her. Yeah,
we kick ass together. That's one of the biggest things while they're on the list too, is that together, like Elektra and Daredevil, they kick ass.
They do.
They fucking clean house, man. For real. Well, moving right along into the countdown. We talked about Young Love earlier, but this is the next two actually are some good examples of Young Love, and some strong examples. Number 8 is going to be Raven and Beast Boy. Jake, tell us why Raven and Beast Boy make number 8 in the countdown.
Yeah, number 8 on this week's countdown, Raven and Beast Boy. Darren and Geoff John's run of Teen Titans, especially one of the most interesting aspects was the romance, or the romantic involvement between Beast Boy and Raven. Having been teammates for years, seeing the two explore their relationship in this manner was a welcome experience. Despite their radically different personalities, the two actually paired incredibly well together. Furthermore, while Beast Boy isn't exactly the most powerful DC hero around, Raven certainly has the potential to be one of the most powerful. Unfortunately, with all the reboots and change-ups in the universe over time, the two are no longer a couple. With that in mind, they are still one of the most powerful couples at one point, which says a lot, especially considering their age. They're both relatively young, they're teen titans. And so, but you can never forget that in the animated series, just how close they were together. And then in the comics, they've kind of been on and off again before. Like I said earlier, even though Beast Boy isn't necessarily known as the most powerful, Raven certainly packs a punch. And when she can use her mind to throw an elephant, Beast Boy, that can do some damage.
Yeah. I mean, Trigon's daughter ain't nothing to fuck with. That's for damn sure. And it's interesting you say that the relationships they're no longer together, but like I believe in the TV series they're still together, correct? Is that
in the new? Well, they just started like I believe in the comics they've split up, but in the live action show they're starting to slowly make them become a thing.
Right. So I feel like it just depends on which Raven and Beast Boy are your Raven and Beast Boy, Yeah. So that's cool. It's cool to see those two make the countdown. Kev, your thoughts on Raven and Beast Boy making number 8?
Yeah, I'm glad to see them on here. Especially these two, right? Like I think they're like if you know the comics, I think it's nice to see that they're the ones that got together. At least even if it was for I guess a short amount of time or just an indefinite time. I don't know, but I'm glad to see some Raven and Beast Boy representation on here.
Yeah, a lot of relationships in comic books are kind of like celebrity relationships.
They really
like they're on again, off again. They kind of they were married in this timeline, and it's like what?
You gotta keep the heat. You gotta keep something coming. Well, speaking of Young Love, number 7 on our countdown, we had some DC Teen Titans, but on the other side, the Young Avengers. At number 7 in our countdown, Wiccan and Hulkling come in as one of the most prominent LGBTQ relationships, probably in all of comics. For those of you who don't know about Wiccan and Hulkling, let me tell you about Wiccan and Hulkling. Hulkling was originally planned to be a female character, according to Tom Brevoort. Originally Alan, the director of the original writer, I believe, I can't find his name, Alan Heinberg, pitched Hulkling as a female character using her shape-shifting ability to pose as a man. They were suspicious that this was just Alan trying to figure out a way that he could depict an openly gay relationship in Marvel Comics. But as it got underway, he started having second thoughts and approached the director about just having the character be an openly gay man. gay man. Hulkling is basically a shape-shifting Captain Marvel with a Superman-esque origin story. And Wiccan is the son of none other than Scarlet Witch and Vision, Billy Maximoff, who joins the Young Avengers with Hulkling. As early as Young Avengers 2, each issue had letter pages that included an exchange of reader opinions between people who supported and people who were against the portrayal of gay superheroes. Alan Heinberg confirmed his speculation during a San Diego Comic-Con panel, stating that his intent was to reveal the relationship on issue 12, and he was surprised that his subtle cues were picked up on so quickly. I mean, like, this is not the ambiguously gay duo, this is an actual comic here, where they were trying to depict this, and they were trying to be subtle about it. Teddy proposes to Billy, and they the two share their first on-panel kiss in one of the later episodes, and then in the New Avengers, which is basically a timeline in the future that kind of like shows them. I think like 40 or 30 or 40 years in their future. They flash forward to 20XX, which is some unknown time, and they show an older version of Billy and Teddy living happily together with their daughter Kate. And Teddy is referred to as King Dorak the Eighth, and Billy is referred to as his prince consort, so his Prince Ho. So it's really kind of an interesting thing, but honestly, I did a huge deep dive into Wiccan and Hulkling as characters, and the characters themselves they're very interesting. They're very powerful, and they were incredibly representational. I mean, at one point in time, during one of the issues, they actually openly address, like, hey, if we're going to do this, the director's going to ask questions about y'all's relationship. Like, it's obviously more than just a friendship. Are we going to say this? And they look at each other and they go, why should North Star have all the fun? One of the reasons they say that is because North Star was one of the first openly gay superheroes that ever existed. So it was a big nod to that. Anyways, I'm rambling. Wiccan and Hulkling coming at number 7 in the countdown. An absolutely amazing couple, and love to see more of it. But we're running out of time here, so I'm going to try to scoot on through this. Number 6 in the countdown. Love wins. Number 6 in the countdown is Batman and Catwoman. Kev, tell us why Batman and Catwoman make it number 6 in the countdown.
Yeah, speaking of billionaire playboys here, ever since Catwoman made her first appearance way back in 1940, a romance with Batman has seemed like an absolute given. Not only do you have the drama inherent in the world's greatest crime fighter courting the world's greatest burglar, but when you're a lucratively attractive person who dresses up as a nocturnal animal, finding another lucratively attractive person who dresses up as a nocturnal animal isn't something that you really want to take for granted. Batman and Catwoman seem to have, again, much like Elektra and Daredevil, this on again, off again relationship, and Catwoman certainly isn't Batman's first love interest. Another one that we'll mention later, but probably, we'll see. But however, this is, I think these two have to make this list because it's just one of these iconic sort of romances. In my opinion, even though they've never been official, they've always checked the "it's complicated" box.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, they've been involved in one capacity or another.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they
There's
team
a storyline. Go ahead.
When they team up, they cause some damage. That's why they're,
really do.
like definitely higher up on the list is, like, even though they're always that will they, won't they kind of a thing, right? Like cat and bat game, if you will. But like, even with that, when they do team up together, it's something dangerous, and it's
always cool because they always do a great job with things. Like, I remember my favorite sort of arc with them was the Arkham City, where you actually played as Catwoman because Catwoman had to come save Batman and vice versa.
Yep.
She wrecks shit too. She's fun to play in that game.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Claws out, little monsters. Claws out.
Yeah.
for real. Yeah, no, Batman and Catwoman are a huge, amazing power couple. It's good to see them on the list. See what happens when you have another person dressed up as a nocturnal animal chasing you. Anyways, moving right along in the countdown.
And
Do it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it kind of harkens back to that sort of I guess that sort of romance that doesn't work where it's like he's a hero, she's a villain. Well, he fights crime,
I
she
remember
does
what I was gonna
crime.
say.
How will this ever work?
Right, but in certain timelines, it actually does work out, and in one timeline, I believe it's Earth 2, Batman and Catwoman are married, and so a Huntress is their daughter, which I thought was a really interesting kind of way to kind of root those characters all back together. But anyways, moving right along into our countdown, we're at number 5, and that is Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Tell us why Jessica Jones and Luke Cage make number 5 in the countdown, Jake.
Yeah, if we're talking about power couples, you got to think about probably two of the strongest people to ever have super powered, strong sex on Netflix. Their romance and Alias and The Pursuit is one of my very favorite Marvel Comics love stories. A friendship that leads to hookups that lead to an everlasting relationship. Yes, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage have superpowers, but they sort of live just like everyone else does in the comics. They first meet as friends when Jessica Jones was running her detective agency. Then Luke and Jessica gradually become closer as Luke offered her tips on her cases. They eventually become attracted to one another and gave way one night with some deep passion, which we see in the Netflix series too. After their hookup, they were a bit confused on how to act towards each other. But as soon as they were paired up again as Daredevil's bodyguards, Jessica revealed that their romp had actually gotten her pregnant. So, if anybody's out there, I think that's a good lesson for the teens. You can get pregnant on the first time.
Even if you're indestructible.
Even if you're indestructible, it actually means that everything else is even more so indestructible. So you've got the strongest swimmers in the book. In the comics, they took a rather conservative path. Jessica and Luke moved in together and had a daughter named Daniela. They got married, all while fighting crime on the streets. What makes this the most realistic power couple is that they moved through the motions just like we all do. They fight, they make up, they struggle a bit the first time as parents, but then they kind of like get it together and like parent in a completely normal way, even for two superheroes. Even after too many writers have used their marriage and child to kind of keep Jessica in the background, she and Luke remain one of the best, most realistic Marvel couples, and one of comic readers' most favorite couples of all time. And so that's why they made number 5 on our top list of power couples.
Right.
Nice.
I mean, when you can smash like that, and that's a whole nother level of smash. I think that the only rivals.
Go ahead. One of the funny, I think that's just such a the scene. I think that's how they found out each other was superpowered in the Netflix show.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, right? They kind of just he's like, wow, so I could really clap these cheeks, and she's like, yes, you can. And so
that is great. Yeah, no, that's a great scene. We need more superpowered sex scenes. Anyways, moving right along in our countdown, number 4 on the countdown is Black Panther and Storm. Because if you're going to talk about superpowered power couples, you got to talk about the superpowered power couple.
Right.
Honestly, I don't know why Black Panther and Storm isn't higher on the list. For a while, Black Panther and the Storm were actually a married couple, though the two have gone their separate ways. They still have made for one of the most powerful duos in the Marvel Universe has ever seen. Aside from Storm's Omega level abilities, the two also hold very different types of power, with T'Challa being the king of Wakanda and Storm holding a lot of political influence back in America. Making them incredibly powerful in more than one way. Max that out with your own, superhuman Black Panther abilities and your ability to control the weather, and you've really got, a real superpower couple there. The two are unfortunately no longer together, but they were still one of the most powerful couples at the time, and on top of being, one of the most powerful, just beings in the Marvel universe themselves. What do you guys think about Black Panther and Storm? Honestly, when I think of superpowered power couple, Black Panther and Storm kind of take the cake.
Yeah, it's actually it's really cool. Like until we were putting this list together, I never had really even known they were a couple within the comics, right? And so dude, could you imagine their kid? with some mutant abilities, but then like you know also becomes the king of Wakanda. You know what I mean? Like, and it gets the full Black Panther powers on top of controlling maybe the weather. Like, oh shit! Like, that's how you make somebody who's a little too OP.
Right?
Yeah.
Kev, your thoughts?
I love that representation. Black love, baby. No, I'm like Jake though. That would be awesome to see, like, what if they had a child and how like someone with Storm's ability, who's also King of Wakanda, inherits the Black Panther abilities. What that would look like? It'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, because they have some. T'Challa has some ability before he even ingests like the fruit that gives him the super abilities too. I believe, just from his lineage, and so does that even technically make him a mutant already?
It's going to be interesting how Marvel, I mean, I don't want to get on this whole rabbit, but like, dude, how Marvel handles mutants, especially how WandaVision and stuff, you know, kind of brought mutants in now. Like, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Well, chugging it right along on our list, going back to the young love, because it's young love that we always idolize so much, right? We got to get that fire and we got to get that dick. I'm talking about Starfire and Nightwing.
Dick,
tell us why Starfire and Nightwing make number 3 on the countdown, Kev.
That was great. When most DC readers think of young love in the Teen Titans series, most will immediately go to the relationship between Starfire and Nightwing. Both perhaps the most symbolic representation of the team itself, they have made quite a name for themselves individually as a couple alike. Dick Grayson's angsty nature directly contradicts everything that a young Starfire was. Lighthearted and hopeful. Of course, the idea of opposites attracting perfectly fits in regard to these two Titans. While they may be the most iconic couple on the team, that did not secure them a stable, happy future. The wedding they once planned was cut short, causing them to both question the validity of their own feelings. This drove the once optimistic couple to a traumatic breakup, probably more traumatic for fans than the characters themselves. Sad face. Since then, fans have yet to let go of the possibility of this relationship going canon once again, and there's no reason to blame them. Guys, why is this not happening?
I don't know why they won't just give the people what they want. You know, Starfire's supposed to be with Nightwing or Robin. You know, he's Robin at some point. Dick grows up, becomes Nightwing, obviously. You know, I think the Teen Titans that we even grew up with watching, you know, like that was their whole, like, you know, Starfire and Nightwing. That was they were, you know, the cute little couple out of the Teen Titans.
Dick is a man of variety. Okay. He also has the thing with Batgirl as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's more on Dick. It's always
really
Dick's
more on Dick. It's I mean, I don't. Well, and to be fair though, in Red Hood and the Outlaws, Starfire gets around, and she's pretty proud about it. She's like, yeah, why should I care about who I have sex with? I'll have sex. She's had sex with everyone on the team, but so. It's maybe that's what makes this couple so unique, is that there's just a lot of fire there, you know, no pun intended or full pun intended.
It's kind of like the high school sweethearts where they kind of grow up and then they become different people.
Yeah.
So maybe that's
you got like big Grease vibes for like the DC universe.
Yeah, they do.
You know,
they are the DC's like high school sweethearts when I think about it. DC universe kind of like high school sweethearts. Like that's kind of what I look at them. And you know, with obviously Beast Boy and Raven right there behind them, kind of in a way in that category. You know.
Yeah, the Teen Titans, it's really just a lot of good romance. Is what it really is.
Yeah,
that's what we're saying about Teen Titans. That's a weird statement.
When you join the Teen Titans, it's like, you know, working at a restaurant when you're single. You're gonna fuck somebody there. You know, like it's.
You're gonna fuck somebody there, and you're gonna cry in the cooler. You're gonna do things you're being guaranteed to do.
Joining the Titans. That's what it's made of, baby.
Well, number 2 on the countdown snuck up on us like a robotic human sneaking through a couch. If you didn't catch that, that is a Vision reference. We're talking about WandaVision with Jake, tell us a bit why WandaVision make it number 2 on the countdown.
Yeah, I mean, for obvious reasons, Wanda's fucking crazy powerful. But with Wanda Maximoff being one of the most powerful mutants on the planet and Vision being one of the most scientifically advanced pieces of technology on the planet, it only makes sense that the couple would be incredibly powerful. In the past, both characters have played major roles as Avengers, fending off all sorts of threats and saving the planet a number of times. Likewise, Wanda is also powerful enough to rewrite all of reality. which is certainly not an easy thing to do. We're starting to get a little bit of a taste in this in the Disney Plus show, Wanda and Vision, but in the comics, Wanda actually has an immaculate conception style pregnancy with her and Vision's children, because obviously Vision does not have the tools necessary to make babies. And so they basically, she has an immaculate conception with Billy and is it Teddy? Teddy and Billy?
Yeah.
Isn't that the two kids? Yeah. And so in which we got into,
No. You're thinking of Wiccan and Hulkling. It's Billy and I can't think of the other one anyways. Tim.
Timmy.
Yeah, I think it's Tim.
I think it's Timmy.
Tim Maxoff and William Maxoff.
But anyway, so she can essentially just rewrite reality all she wants, which is, fuck the reality stone. Am I right? And so with while Scarlet Witch alone is powerful enough to land her on the list, the addition of Vision only emphasizes the things the couple can accomplish together. And come on, WandaVision's been the sitcom that we all needed for this year, right? So, that's the reason why they're so high up on the list this time.
Yeah.
Right.
Superpower couple.
I mean, they've been really killing it. WandaVision has been just amazing show to watch as of late, and it's just heating up more and more. Like, we're really starting to dive into the meat of the episode. We're getting to start to see the children. We're starting to see, as we talked about Wiccan earlier, we're starting to see him get his powers. I'm hoping that this opens up the door for Wiccan and Hulkling and in the MCU somehow.
When I learned about them for this episode, because of your putting them on the list, and I was reading about them, I was like, oh, dude, that'd be so dope. Because it's we're right now we're in the Malcolm in the Middle kind of teenage 2000 style sitcom. Yeah. And so it's gonna be interesting to see whenever we get to the Modern Family, because that's where it's going next.
Weird that that's the progression that we all took, because when I saw that episode, I was like, that's definitely a Malcolm in the Middle episode.
Yes,
and I was like, the next step was, I wonder if they'll do Modern Family. 100%. That was where we all jumped to. I feel like that's such a weird thing.
Well, because when it showed in black and white, I think everybody thought Lucy, right? It wasn't, because I don't think even though it has kind of a honeymooners vibe too, Lucy's the big one, right? And so
Brady Bunch for the 70s one.
Yeah, it was Lucy, Brady Bunch, and so you just kind of think of those big sitcoms. And to me, Malcolm in the Middle was the big family sitcom of the 2000s, and so that's why they went with that kind of. It felt very yes, no, maybe. I don't know.
Even the theme song.
I know. Yeah, it was the grungy kind of 90 rock.
Yeah.
Oh, that grunge. Why did it have to go away? Why did the ska have to go away?
I know, right?
All right. Moving on to number 1 on the countdown.
The ska's the limit.
The sky's the limit. This one is an obvious one. If you didn't get this, obviously it's Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, okay? Because we're not going to be talking about the Joker on this bitch, okay? We're going to be talking about the cleansing relationship, okay?
The toxin. Let's talk about poison.
Right. Harley was created to be in a terrible relationship with a man. Ivy was created to tempt men into corruption. So there's something a little bit revolutionary about them finding queer love with each other. They're also non-monogamous. Hey, another kind of relationship we don't see enough of in the comics, and they've become each other's most prominent partners in recent years. And even if they're somewhat evil, you have to admit they're absolutely adorable together. I shared a panel in our Discord today that if you want to know more about, you could totally join our Discord. It's right below us right there. Join the Nerd Herd. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, but it showed them at kind of the end of their lives, and Poison Ivy was sitting down and he said, I have this little pill here, and this will have us restart our lives over as plants, but we can't hold on to any of our memories that we shared together. And they said, well, will we be together? And she said, yeah. So she took it and she goes, well, that's okay. I would rather not remember this one anyways. There's a few things I would do differently. One's finding you sooner. And it's oh my God. They're on their deathbeds and everything. Come on. That hits the heartstrings, Yeah. And I think the thing that's really cool about Harley Quinn and Ivy's relationship and why people like it so much is it's that relationship is meant to be the cold drink of water from the shitty relationships he's in.
Yeah.
And none of them are good people.
Right.
None of them are perfect people. None of them are the heroes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people just love this relationship so much. What do you think, Jake?
My big one, and I was watching the Harley Quinn, the animated series, just waiting on it because I knew they had pulled, they made them a couple in the comics and, had their whole like on again, off again thing.
Right.
I like Harley as a character. And I do like how they've changed Poison Ivy over the years to where now she's more of an eco-terrorist, if anything. Like, when usually
she's always been an eco-terrorist. She's just been portrayed really poorly. And
she's
I feel like
always been portrayed as a villain when in reality, she does villainous shit, but it's to protect the planet. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting that these two almost like what's the word? Is it meta hero? Kind of like, they're not really heroes, but they're also like not really villains, kind of like, it's great that they've kind of found each other.
Great
and like
Jedi,
you said, it's the palate cleanse for Harley's past shitty relationships. Now she's with somebody that not only cares about her, but also cares about the planet. And like all these other things, like has a little bit more, I guess, of a better moral compass. Like the Joker just wanted to see the world burn. At least like with Ivy, she has a hobby. She's got a green thumb. She's like
with every example of Harley and Ivy together, I see a more healthy, honest a version of a relationship portrayed. To be honest, Kev, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think it's sort of like it's a nice not necessarily justification. It's something that they both deserve, right? I think it's
desserts.
Yes, exactly. There you go. Just desserts, right? Like especially given the sort of tumultuous past that Harley has had with her sort of relationships, especially to Joker, and and I think they're both kind of in the same sort of moral grounding, right? Like they just make sense as a couple. Like they have the same moral compass. They have sort of the same kind of tumultuous, understood misfit backgrounds, and it's kind of nice how they found each other.
And in the animated series, if you're watching it, and I know I keep talking about it, but it is probably one of the fucking greatest like DC animated series it's ever made, right? I know they don't have many, but like just go watch it if you haven't. It's great. But in that one, Kite Man is who Poison Ivy's with so much throughout the show.
So much.
I was gonna say I'm a Kite Man stan, dude. I like honestly like he is such a nice dude who cares for Ivy. He loves her. He's such a good dude, and like he just seems like such a nice guy. But it goes to like show, and that's one of my favorite things about it is that like you can love somebody. Like I think Ivy did love Kite Man, just as Kite Man, right? Like and she was gonna be with him. But that's not who she was in love with, right? And so it's one of those things where like, you can still love somebody but not be in love with them and then still carry on with a friendship, which she does with Kite Man. Like Kite Man even comes and helps them after they've kind of like broken up and, been with Harley. And so even after she cheats on him with Harley, like, he stays with her and everything. And so like, it's one of those where, sorry for the spoilers for the animated show, but it's good. So watch it. But I stand Kite Man, but I'm still glad to see that Harley and Ivy ended up together because I think they're a great couple.
I think they're absolutely fantastic. And they're heartwarming to see. It's super cute to see, panels like we saw, like I was, talking about earlier. And that's why they make the number one on our countdown here. They're important.
I think we lost Dodd.
Important to you. And so,
but that's okay. Because that was literally our last.
We got to have him represented.
Oh wait, we got him back.
I still see him.
Okay, sorry. What were we talking about?
See me?
Yeah, I can see you now.
We
lost you for a second.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well,
you're good though.
I'm back now. Okay,
you're back now.
Yeah. So, so that's why Harley and Ivy make the top 10 in their countdown. They're an absolutely fantastic couple. Absolutely great to have some good representation in here, and glad to have them. Anyways, that's all we got for the show, guys. That's all. We're out of gas here at this point. If you like anything you see or heard on the show tonight, please feel free to follow us on any of our social medias. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. We just dropped a new video tonight about the new Zack Snyder cut trailer. Definitely go check that out. And while you're there, go check out all the lovely, wonderful content that we have to offer. We've got rejected Pokemon. We've got Resident Evil trailers. We've got a little bit of everything. Okay.